Hello and welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Service. I wanted to tell an investigative story tonight. I've been talking mostly about protection, and that's what the Secret Service is known for, right? All the protection stuff. But actually, a little history lesson. The United States Secret Service was founded in 1865 by President Lincoln. They say it was the last thing he said. I don't, as far as an act, but it was one of the last things he said he wanted to have started, because back in the Civil War, 2/3 of the currency was counterfeit. So no one really knew what the good money was versus bad money. So he said we need to have an outfit to go out and determine what money is good. And so it was the Pinkerton group, and there was like 11 dudes, and I'm pretty sure they were judge, juror, and executioner all in one back in the 1860s. But the Secret Service basically found its roots in investigations. However, later would become a protective outfit, because in 1901 President McKinley was assassinated. And so when McKinley got shot in 1901, they're like, dude, we got to start protecting these guys full time, because when Lincoln was in office, it was the United States Army that was protecting him, not the Secret Service, because we hadn't been founded yet. So basically, I told you that to tell you this. Investigations, you're like, Secret Service does investigations? Yeah, oh yeah. So back in the day, it was a lot of counterfeit currency stuff. Now it's gone all cyber and everything's electronic or whatever, digital stuff. But when I got hired in 97, I went immediately to the counterfeit squad, where I worked for 3 years, and I really liked it, because to me, it was like real cop work. It was street level stuff, but it was drugs and guns and money. It was good cop work. I thought it was good cop work, because I didn't like credit card fraud and bank fraud. It's like, I felt like the banks were getting us to do their dirty work for them. Now, I understand they have to have somebody to be able to prosecute their cases for them, but they would pretty much have a fraud investigator do the work and then hand it to you, and you'd put it on your letterhead. There wasn't a whole lot of thought process, and you just retyping it, making it pretty, and then presenting it. The cases were bigger and things like that. The dollar loss was bigger, which the bosses thought was a good thing. But they're all writing it off on tax write-offs anyway, so it didn't matter. But I like doing the street level crime. I got to feel like a cop again. One time I was assigned for 1 year of those 5 years I was in Charlotte. So I was a criminal counterfeit squad for 3 years, and then I did a violent crimes task force for a year, and then I was in the white collar stuff and the protection intelligence stuff. So one of those years, I spent a whole calendar year. It was around calendar year 2000. I can't remember the dates, but I did it for a year. It was great, and it was violent crimes task force, and it was Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department and the ATF. It was funded by them. The Secret Service used to be under the Department of Treasury, which they should still be, but the Treasury Department funded that task force, and the SBI was involved, State Bureau of Investigation. It was really good bunch of guys, good detectives and stuff. It was good police work. And so there was a couple of knuckleheads that had come down from New York. They were, drug dealers, and they were both wanted for a couple homicides in New York, and I think they might have been one in Charlotte. But anyway, because of the drugs and the homicide stuff and the dope, the DEA got involved. Now, the DEA was not involved in our task force normally, but because of the connection to New York, they were involved. And some homicide detectives came down from New York, and it was just a real good collaborative effort, good team effort. Long story long is, tracked these guys down to a trailer park in the whitest county in North Carolina. Not really, but one of them. Back in the day, Sheriff Hagee was the sheriff of Davidson County, I think it was, and he was an interesting guy. He painted the jail pink and all this stuff, so when the inmates had to go to jail, they were in pink walls, all and stuff, and he had this big black Chevrolet Caprice or something, I forget, something like that, with a big black widow painted on it. I mean, he was an interesting guy. So if you did anything squirrely in Davidson County, you were gonna get the full weight of the law. They were not going to cut you any slack. So it was just, these poor guys not poor guys, but these guys didn't know that. Like, they didn't know they were in this like crazy sheriff's territory, and they were hiding out in this trailer park near the lake. It was odd. So basically, they didn't really blend in. But we had them tracked down, and one of them had his two sons with him, a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we're like, well, we got to get them, but we don't want the boys to get hurt if something goes south. So we came up with this plan. We did surveillance all night on the trailer, and we were based out of a fire department around the corner. And so the DEA boss came up with a great idea. He goes, "Hey, what if we did a ruse and we said we're the fire department and we got to get them out. There's a gas leak and everybody's got to come up here and get decontaminated or whatever." He said. Well, it was good. So there was 5 of us that dressed up like firemen. Of course, a real fireman drove the fire truck, and then there was 5 of us that dressed up as firemen to go in and grab the guys. And then 2 of us went to one guy, 2 went to one guy, and then one guy grabbed the 2 boys, like that. So that was the plan. And we went up, knocked on the trailer, like, "Hey, there's a gas leak. You got to come up here to the fire department." Well, the one guy believed it pretty easily and came down the steps. So as he's coming down the steps, the 2 guys grab him, and then the one guy grabs the 2 boys. Well, we were hoping the other guy was right behind him, but he wasn't. So he was a little hinked up, so he fled out the back of the trailer. So instead of chasing him through a trailer, which I thought would be pretty stupid, get your butt shot doing that, I ran around. And it's hard to run in all that fireman gear too, with big boots and all that stuff. And of course, these guys are armed and dangerous. They've killed some people. They're drug dealers and stuff. So come around the corner. He gets in his car, and I'm able to, I kind of draw down on him, but he's going to run over me. So I jump out of the way, and I kind of watch him go by. And I honestly thought he was going to pull up a pistol. I was expecting him to pull up a pistol and shoot at me or shoot me, and I was going to shoot back, I guess. But that did not happen, so I was able to get out of the way a little clumsily, but I did not get run over, so that was good. And then he got into a high-speed chase with the sheriff's department, which lasted about 13 seconds, because those boys will pit you in a second, and that was pretty awesome. And so, yeah, good guys 1, bad guys 0, and that was probably one of I have a couple other investigative stories that were pretty cool that I'll talk about some other time, because I'm going to have to do some memory digging on them, because I have a buddy of mine that can remember stuff really well, and I don't. So we ended up getting basically a serial killer one night too. It was weird, off of a counterfeit case. That's why I liked it. We were always getting into weird stuff. That's a story for a different time. But anyway, we were able to get the guys, lock them up. Nobody got hurt. Boys didn't get hurt. The 2 bad guys didn't get hurt. None of the cops got hurt. So it was a cool story, or I don't know if it's a cool story. You be the judge, but it was a good memory for me, because in that unit, when I was on that violent crimes task force, we were really doing some good work. We were putting some really bad guys in jail.